All right, it is 1v1 time with Big Daddy Throgalicious. Let's see how this gets going here. This plays pretty well into our head-to-head that Turn and I are doing. So I'm actually going to pause it because there's some very early game action that goes on. Let's take a look at our Wintertooth army, as it were. We got a nice front line of Marauders with Marauder champions here. Now, we are up against Lizardmen, and I really like Marauder champions. Marauder champions can hold the line extremely well against them and allows you to get around the back end with any kind of Famir with great weapons, or to get in there with some trolls, to use any kind of javelin hunters. The Marauder champions are a great way to just hold the line. At 80 armor, really good standard leadership at 90. They have great melee attack and melee defense, especially at 56. So these guys here are in it to win it. And against the majority of the Lizardmen front line, we're going to show you how we're going to counter that with our Death Mage. We'll say dark. So across the line, we have plenty of Marauder champions. Got some Marauders sprinkled in here just to kind of fill up some of the points here. Now, we went with a bit of a troll build. Now, that isn't to say that this is a build meant to troll people. It means that it's got trolls. And we went with Norscan ice trolls on one flank and on the other flank. These guys are great. They do have their frostbite mechanics, so it does slow people down. They have their 120 AP, so it's pretty good here. You do have to worry about their leadership. You know, it is quite low at 53, but they do have regeneration, so even if they do break, the chances of them coming back are pretty high, and when they do come back, they'll have they will have had time to regenerate some health, get back in the fight, come back a little bit better of a position they once were. Now in the center here, we have 2 units of Famir with great weapons here. A really great unit here because they're going to be so strong against the heavily armored core of the Lizardmen, in addition to any kind of Temple Guard that we're going to be up against. We'll do anti-large, we'll do AP, so that'll help us out with any kind of large dinosaurs that we'll be dealing with. In addition to that, they center armor, they do magic attacks, so these guys are a great choice against your standard Lizardmen variants. Now, of course, we have Throg Daddy himself with his little tooth crown. Now, this guy is, he'll be an interesting choice. Throg is very powerful. In tabletop, Throg was a really good character, but you could make better characters for cheaper points, so he just didn't get as much play in tabletop. And for the Norscan line, he does have a lot of specific matchups that he kind of thrives in, and this one I think he does pretty well here. He does anti-large in and of himself, he does AP, and he does have frostbite, so he can do quite a bit of damage. And let's not forget, his vomit is actually very strong. We'll see that being used to great use throughout this entire fight. Like to pat myself on the fucking back or something here. And Fight or Die is a great mechanic to help with the poor leadership of an otherwise pretty crappy army. Or I'm sorry, pretty crappy leadership army. Now, for our caster, we have the Shaman Sorcerer of Death here. Now, we went with Soul Blight rather than Fate of Buna. And the reason for that is with the minus 30 armor and the reduction to weapon damage that this causes across it's a hex area, right? You're not choosing one single unit. So you can get a lot of use out of this because you're going to make it so that your Lizardmen are going to be hitting effectively like with little sticks, and they're going to be taking a ton of damage in return. So at minus 30 armor, sorry, I'm still a little sick, so it just kind of comes here and there. That brings it halves these guys' armors down to 30, so it does a great use there, or a great use case in this matchup. Now, we are flanked with 2 units of Norscan Ice Wolves here. This will help us with any kind of skirmishers, help hunt down the chameleon skinks, and otherwise be a really good use here. Now, the only thing this army is, of course, lacking is any kind of range firepower, so anything that's flying is going to be able to stay flying and have a very, definitely the superiority in the air. If I were not doing this with the trolls that I wanted to do this with, you could simply take the javelins in this build, and it would be extremely competitive. I mean, you could have the front line being held by the hunter champions, and the javelins would just focus down anything. So if you want a Norscan build that's really great against Lizardmen, take this exact build, scrap out the Norscan ice trolls, and just put in hunters with javelins, and you really have a very strong build. So let's see how this kind of gets going here. I'm going to keep things in slow motion here while we talk really quick about our opponent. He does have a nice strong front line of Saurus Warriors with shields. 2 units of Temple Guard here. They're going to be great because they have that AP and anti-large that'll help out against any of the larger beasts that I would otherwise bring in a Norscan army. In addition to that, we have the Pizza Lord himself, Mazdamundi, holding the line here with this little Hadab on top of Zlok. He's going to be a great choice here with all his casting abilities. Now, he went with the Feral Carnosaur. The Feral Carnosaur is actually extremely valuable. It's a pretty low point cost. You don't have to have a Saurus Scar Veteran or Old Blood on it to really get a lot of value out of a Carnosaur. You can just simply have the Feral version. Also, We have a unit of Feral Cold Ones, which, again, really great use here. They're going to have AP, so they can knock apart anything that has some of the more larger monsters units that the Norskins can typically bring. Now, 2 units on the flanks of Chameleon Skinks, as to be expected, and 1 unit of Pterodon Riders already kind of getting into our army here. So let's go ahead and put this into normal speed and have this show get on the road. Well, the very first engagement we're going to want to do, right, is move up our Norscan ice roll. So you want to put pressure on those Chameleon Skinks as fast as possible. They've got poison attacks. They've got a very good range. They're actually pretty decent combat or melee combat fighters, and they're quite quick. So you want to put them, at least get them engaged in some sort of threat response, which is what they will be with the Norscan Ice Wolves. If you kind of use them to at least harry them and keep them hunkered down, it's a good thing. Now, you can see over with these Norscan Ice Wolves, we pulled them back a little bit because we saw that they were getting a little overcommitted. Had some skink cohorts coming in there to reinforce them. The Norscan Ice Wolves will get dumpstered by that kind of double layer of skinks there with the skink cohort and with the unit of Chameleon Skinks. Now we can see that these Feral Cold Ones are going to hunt our Norscan Ice Wolves over to this corner here. But the main point here is to get our army up that hill into the face of those Lizardmen. We want to do a full line-to-line charge here. Nothing special, nothing fancy here. Just get everything up close and personal. Ruination of the City is going to kick off. Looks like right in the back, ripping through. Missing the majority of my army, though, and not doing a ton of damage. So I'm quite fine with that. You can see these, dude, I love the attack animations of the Lizardmen as they just kind of jump in. Oh, yeah, dive bomb right into that line. Touchdown, Lizardmen. And there it is again, Bob, going in for the defensive play, jumping on into the end zone, getting that touchdown that the Lizardmen's desperately need in this fourth quarter final. Sorry, I don't know what happened. I blacked out. But our front line is now engaged. We can push our Premier in. We can push our Norscan Ice Trolls in. We do have our leadership coming in the back here, and we're in a pretty poor position with our Shaman Sorcerer of Death. But we have gotten Soul Blight off across the line. And you can see here that you can already start to see a difference in these engagements. You can see that the Lasaurus Warriors are losing handedly. Of course, they are up against Premier Great Warriors and Marauder Champions, so there's quite a bit allied against them. But still, nonetheless, they are in bad shape. Now we have the Feral Connoisseur engaging over here, and this is going to be our biggest target, right? This thing is going to be the one thing that can do the most damage to our trolls, to Throg himself. It's got AP, it's got anti-large, so we really want to put that down as fast as possible. We got a Spirit Leech onto it, Shield of the Old Ones kicking off, but we're putting Throg onto that Feral Connoisseur. We're trying to maximize as much damage as we can. We got both Premier Warriors with great weapons into it. We have our Throg in there as well. We're trying to just beat that Feral Connoisseur's shields like a drum. At the same time, those Feral Cold Ones have taken care of our Norscan Ice Wolves over here, but they have come back. We were able to pull them out of that fight, bring them back in, pushing them towards those Chameleon Skinks. On the right flank, you can see here that the Chameleon Skinks are running. They were broken by these Norscan Ice Wolves, which is a great little use right there. I really wanted to knock those units out so they weren't doing a lot of damage. But we do have this flying unit that's just been chipping away at our Shaman Sorcerer of Death the entire time. A Curse Midnight Wind has kicked off over here in this main blob, but we'll have an answer to that quite soon here. And we want to focus Mazdamundi as soon as we can get this guy to Rampage, which we just have. I swear to God, I'm the best at microing. This is very evident. I never, ever leave a unit not doing anything. There it goes. And really just dogpile in here. We've got the Rampage kicked off here. We want to pop Mazdamundi as fast as possible. We want to get rid of that whole entire use of his magic. Getting another, not Curse of Midnight Wind, but a Soul Blight off across this huge blob. This is really like the in it or win it losing portion right here. If we win this fight, we can be in really good shape. So we're getting everything we can onto Mazdamundi, trying to pop him. We got our Premier Great Warriors coming in there. Our Shaman Sorcerer of Death just kind of harrying the line here, but we got Throg in there just kind of beating Zlok in the back. And watch every single swing of that just meaty hammer. Oh, so that big chunk of health gone. Let's get a better view of the entire battlefield here. Got those Feral Cold Ones in the back just kind of harrying anything that's kind of fled off the table. Those Norscan Ice Trolls were the ones that I didn't micro the best, and you can see they're really paying for it, right? Even though they were able to regenerate, they're still just kind of getting put down as they are soloed out on their own. And we're going to be using our Norscan Ice Wolves to do the exact same thing, harry anything that's kind of retreating away. But Curse of Midnight Wind kicking off as well. So it's really, he's answering every single one of my Soul Blights with a Curse of Midnight Wind, which is great here, right? You have a lot of very high armor units. Oh, and another Ruination of Cities. You can see it kicked off here, here, and here. Really not doing a ton of damage to me. I got really lucky there. That would have really just turned this entirely in our opponent's favor. But you can see that Mazdamundi was wavering there for just a quick second. We still have a full health Throg, but we are finally taking out Mazdamundi. He's got Apotheosis that's popped on him, but we've got everything kind of committed to that fight, trying to get him out as fast as possible. Got a Spirit Leech just kicked off on him as well. He's so low, 700 health. He is probably going to squeak away with this because Spirit Leech isn't going to be enough to really do all that damage, and he is kind of a little bit faster than everything else in my army. Probably the best idea I should have done was take these Norscan Ice Wolves and put them on Mazdamundi. That would have kept him routing and actually caught up to him and maybe even killed him. So definitely an error on my part. But you can see here my army is really ragtag. It's really beaten up. All of our Marauder champions are, again, these guys are meant to hold the line, not win the line. They're not going to be the ones that dish out the majority of their damage, but they're going to be able to hold it. So what we're doing here is we're pulling our army back, trying to kick off the regenerative abilities of all of our trolls, right? We have so many trolls in this army. And Throg himself is even surrounded by a lot of Temple Guard, and he's still doing great. Shaman Sorcerer getting jumped over here by our Feral Carnosaur. Again, that Feral Carnosaur's got to get put down. So we're moving Throg onto him, and we've moved our army back this direction because we want them to retreat in line. So obviously we can see this, we don't have control of this unit, this unit, this unit, this unit, but they're all moving this direction. So we're retreating them in line, trying to keep them kind of surrounded by their bros, bring their leadership back in line. You can see people are starting to come back a little bit quicker. And when they come back, they'll be surrounded by people so that they're supported immediately. That's going to be the big thing here is we need to get stuff out of this main melee and kind of get some cohesion going over here. Push everything back a little bit. They still have quite a bit, right? So if we take a look at this army, sure, our Shaman Sorcerer is rolling off, but they still have some Saurus Warriors. Quite a bit. Some Temple Guard. 2 good units of Temple Guard. 48 and 53. That's something to scoff at, especially at this point in the game. Unit of Skin Cohorts, not the best unit in the world, but... And they still have Mazdamundi back there. Mazdamundi is a bit isolated, though, so we're going to be making a move this direction. Trying to do whatever damage we can. We want to lead the charge with Throg because he is the anchor of our leadership, and he's going to be able to do the most damage to something in kind of a shock value type of maneuver here. Apotheosis again onto Mazdamundi. Trying to pop anything we can, push into these skin cohorts. Take one unit down at a time. Just pick them off, pick them off, pick them off. Remember, that Feral Carnosaur is still going to be one of the biggest threats on this battlefield here. It can really do a lot of damage to all of our remaining units, and we need these units, because these units, you can see the trolls have regenerated back up to pretty much full health. That's great for them, right? That's great for them. But really, he overextends his Carnosaur here, all in attack, just trying to surround and circle beat this guy. We have to get this thing out of the way, because if we don't, it's gonna spell doom for the majority of our large creatures, which is all that's left. Even though we're against halberd infantry with the Temple Guard, we want to make sure we can get this big bad boy out of the way as fast as possible. Getting Throg in there. Now, here's something I want to show you guys. Little sneak attack here. So, our Shaman Sorcerer just barely comes back, and I've got maybe 6 or 7 winds of magic at this point. So we're trying to get to 8 winds of magic. We're trying to sneak a Spirit Leech onto Mazdamundi. That's the big move right now. If we can just kind of keep this in line, push out that Carnosaur, which it looks like we're doing just fine, then reform ranks and push into this while we're getting Mazdamundi at the same time, we could win this. The problem is, though, that Mazdamundi is popping Apotheosis. He is keeping his health pool up. He's staying in good health. I mean, you can see the leadership of the line is holding strong. He's in relative good health, and I'm not really sure there winds of magic at this point. I wish I could see both. That'd be great if I had a gauge of both on, like, up top here or something like that. But Carnosaur getting charged off, or chased off by those Norscan Ice Wolves. Reforming ranks here for one final push. My Shaman in the trees moving in. He doesn't have enough to completely snipe him again with the Spirit Leech, but the point will be to bring him very low so that we can get Throg in there to do just one quick shot. There it is. Almost in there. Casting. Got it. So, you can see he had 1,300 to start with. Throg's Vomit going across the way here. Or it was. That's the problem with the vomit. You do have to be... It's kind of a tricky cast. There it goes. Now, this spell, I was pretty surprised. So, it's got 48 units and 3,600 health on these guys. Watch this. Just 48, 46, down to 43. Man, it just melts way more than I thought it would. It did about 900 damage and killed 5 units. I mean, that's a pretty great little tally there, all things considered. For a pretty, like, buggy, situational ability, I'm all for it. It gave me a little bit of an edge there. Pushing into this, kind of doing a bit of an oblique thrust. Trying to overload one side of the flank so we can push down the line here. Taking these skin cohorts, putting them out. We're going to take Throg here and push him through. See where we're pushing him through. You want to constantly right-click here. Right click, right click, right click, right click, right click, right click. You want to keep him engaged, or else he'll actually push into anything else that engages him. That's the kind of that's the biggest problem with monstrous units in this game, is their pathing and their attacking tends to get a little, have some issues. 903 health here on Mazdamundi. He's surrounded by halberds. This is not looking good for both parties, really. 610. He is so close. Oh, look at him waddling away. Throg, do your bidding. Oh, 312. Each shot is a nice 3. Oh, and there it is. Taken out at the legs. Mazdamundi just shoots into vapor as he returns back to his lovely temple city to be fed by skinks once more. Now, we're in a really bad situation. The majority of our infantry has broken. We are surrounded by halberd infantry and another unit of Saurus. And there's really not much we can do here. We have to see what we can do about negating some of this, trying to break one of these weaker units of Saurus as fast as we can. If we do that, hopefully we can get a cascading leadership effect and really pull ahead. You can see some of our units are coming back here and there, but everything's in really bad shape. Our trolls, though, they will regenerate. That's the nice thing here. They haven't hit their cap just yet, so they'll come back pretty soon here. Throg just going to town, though, on Temple Guard. Someone requested I turn the music up a bit. There you go. And I mean, even though Throg can do a lot of damage here, you got a nice charge in by Norsca Ice Wolves. Nice little reinforcement to him. He is surrounded, and he's slowly but surely starting to lose ground here. So, we got to see if we can unite him with these trolls. The trolls are going to definitely put these king cohorts to shame, but it's going to be a matter of getting these Teardown Riders out, which have been really harassing us the entire time. We've got some Premiers coming back. We have some Warrior Chieftains coming back, so we do have some things we can use. And of course, trolls fleeing again. That's the issue with trolls, is they're not very dependable in the late game. You can see their health kind of balancing out, but it's pretty tricky. And there we go. Another vomit into those Temple Guard, doing great damage. And they're nice and stacked up, so that damage spreads across all 3 of these units. Great shot there. And we're just going to keep them running. We've got the regenerative abilities on Throg here. We've got some units coming back. We want to just get them up close and personal in that fight. If we can do whatever we can to just knock out one of these units at a time, we'll be in good shape. We really just need that cascading leadership effect of multiple things fleeing. Got a nice good charge in from everything. Things are kind of at like on a knife's edge. They definitely, we definitely have the upper hand from as far as the power level goes, but that's not to say that this is a one game. I mean, you can take a look at it. We're definitely a balance of power that we're winning, but there's a lot of really strong counters to everything that's left on the board, and we keep having really shitty leadership issues. Throg is just in it, though, man. Like, he has been surrounded. He's the only one who's coming in. Got some trolls in there as well, trying to just take this one unit of Temple Guard out. We got this unit of Saurus out, which is great, but if we can focus one out, we'll be in great shape. Again, trolls fleeing away. Fight or Die would have been great right here, but it wasn't up just yet, so we needed that to kind of help push the line. But these trolls are now shattered. You can see that the balance power has just chunked down away from us. Oh, it's so down to the wire here. I mean, like, you have 2 beaten to crap units that are a hard counter to a large monstrous unit that is just wavering. You can see his health, or his leadership just chipping away here. For the most part, that's it on the battlefield. It's just these units. We still have another vomit, though. One last vomit. Let's see if we can get another... We can get some a better kind of angle on this. If those trolls hadn't broken, hadn't shattered, we'd be fine. We would be able to just kind of completely crush these guys. But we just have to get this unit of Temple Guard down and out. Then it'll just immediately roll on through for us. A nice whopping 5 kills yet again. Getting there, and these guys starting to come back. It's so close. It is so down to the wire here. I can't say that enough, because it is that down to the wire. Throg is just beating these lilies into the ground here, kicking Lizardmen in the face. It's like just an unruly bar fight. He's had tequila, he's a little bit horny, and he's looking to fuck something up. And there it is. At the last minute here, Throg loses. And it was such a valiant defeat. You can really see that this, even though this was a little bit of a quote-unquote memey build, it still worked out very well. I mean, the trolls, they got the job done. 106 kills on them for a pretty unit-dense army. Or, I'm sorry, a more elite army, I guess you could say, like the Lizardmen, is nothing to scoff at. 91 kills from Throg himself. I mean, he really delivered the pain here. And those Norscan Ice Wolves, they didn't get a good start, but throughout the rest of the fight, they did great. 56 and 79 kills. They were able to remove any kind of the poison effects from the Chameleon Skinks by absorbing that damage, getting them off the board high and tight, really kind of playing it close to the chest here with this build. Like I said, if we had swapped out these Norscan Ice Trolls for some Javelin Hunters, we would have been in great shape. The line would have been held by the Marauder Chieftains. The Javelin Hunters would have put down that Feral Carnosaur so fast, and then we would have just moved all targets, both Throg and the Hunters, onto Mazdamundi. It would have been a pretty quick fight. That's a pretty standard way of dealing with Lizardmen. But hopefully you guys enjoy this build here. It's a different way to play the Norscan Ice Troll build. And it can work against even like a more elite kind of scary army like the Lizardmen, with all their access to dinosaurs and heavy armored units and large creatures. You don't have to bring mammoths to that fight. You can do a lot of different things there. So hopefully this kind of give you guys somewhat different ideas of how to play Norsca. If you have any suggestions or anything that you liked from this, go ahead and make a comment below. I'm always down for anything, really, except for butt stuff. Not a fan of that. But as always, guys, thanks so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.